Welcome to Savvy Business, Life Unscripted, with your host, Christina Rivera, where our guests share their wisdom and valuable business tips, empowering our audience to expand their personal potential.
Hi, Sharon Koifman. Welcome to Savvy Broadcasting for Unleash Your Story, our newest in our series. I am so grateful to have you here. How are you?
I am doing wonderful, Christina. Thank you for having me on your show. I'm very excited.
Oh my gosh, I am so excited to have you here. You're the CEO of DistantJob, a remote placement agency. And what's great is you just wrote a book not too long ago. You wrote it during the lockdown or when we were all at home with the pandemic dealing with working remote. And you wrote a book called Think Remote, Surviving Remote Work. It's such an important book because right now we're all trying to figure out how to get back into the swing of things as we've been working remote for so long. So how do we learn to survive this working remote and get the best out of it for both employees and for businesses?
You got it. I mean, this is I'm a huge advocate of a remote work. I believe that I hope that not that I believe that the people have experienced in the past year that remote work makes people actually more productive. There is a lot huge benefits. People get to get back home early. They get distracted less. They get more hours in the day. They don't need to travel to the office. I believe that remote is the way for the future.
Yeah. And it's never been more possible today with modern technology. I mean, I have a kick butt computer desktop system, which in the 50s, remember the computers were the size of our room here. And now everyone has a personal computer at home and everything on it. But, share with me, because I've had some concerns with businesses I've spoken to. They're a little concerned with just letting their staff stay remote. They really feel it'll damage their culture or have this disconnectedness from their employees.
Look, so first of all, in terms of worried about people having their companies having their employees working from home, the science is out. The research is done. MIT Sloan has shown that people that work from home are more independent, they're happier, and directly become more productive. So there's a lot less to worry about. But they are right. There is one significant issue that is not perfectly solved with remote, and that is the issues revolve around mental health, which eventually goes to culture and connection to the company. And yes, that involves a little more productivity out of the management. It means that the managers need to invest more in the people that they work for, get to know them on a more personal level, which, by the way, is a great practice when you deal in an office environment. Also, I'm a believer that an amazing office manager is an amazing remote manager, but not every manager is equipped. Not every manager is a great manager, to be honest with you, but that's just between you and me. No, let's not tell anybody. But when you go remote, the big focus, the big change is the ability to pay attention to how your employees are doing. Culture, the definition of culture, I kind of changed it a little bit because until remote became popular and COVID made it popular, but even a little bit before, culture meant having the biggest party, the best happy hours, bean bags, people playing ping pong, and somehow stay productive. But nobody, I felt, and I talked to so many people, and people never were able to offer me a proper definition for culture. So I invested heavily into this, and I realized that culture is really about connection. It's creating connection to your company, connection to each other, creating better teamwork, or connection to the clients. When you understand that as a goal, you don't necessarily need to have the biggest parties in the world. You need to have activities or proper practices that make your employees feel more connected. In my case, I remember when I invested in culture 5 years ago, really tried to create an incredible remote culture, which, by the way, our culture these days in our company is phenomenal. But it took a while for me to figure out to do it in a remote environment. And originally, I said, hey, I can make an awesome party on Zoom. I brought all my employees. We were, at the time, 30-something people. Everybody needs to have a drink. We're not promoting alcoholism, so you bring your coffee if you want, but everybody needs to have a drink and we chit chat. And it got lame pretty quickly. And what I discovered that one-on-ones, intimate, me and everybody else, we even plugged in an app to our Slack called Donut that randomly picked people to meet with each other, and that created such heavy connection. So I learned based on the being goal-oriented that my focus is connection, not just a random world called culture. I learned that intimate one-on-ones with people for 15 minutes, even once in 6 months, makes all the difference. Now, I made a lot of other practices, but each one can own his own. Each company can figure out their own ways as long as they understand the goal. And that's how you create a great culture.
Yeah, I love that you say that because one of the things I got very early on, I'm working with a client, and I had employees tell me, I feel so isolated when you couldn't go out or visit family or friends, and then you're just talking to people via Zoom, and it's all business. It's not no person to person, and you begin to feel like you're just watching TV or looking through a screen that's not connecting with people. And one thing some of the companies told me is that they would do things like bingo night at 5 o'clock on Fridays, or different things to just build that connection. So they would don't. My favorite was Christmas. Everyone went around their house and showed their different Christmas ornaments at one place I work with. And that was really nice because you never see generally when you work in an office environment and you're in a desk, you don't see what's going on in the home of your employees or your coworkers. You don't know what trees they have, kids they have, So and then it actually makes us more human, I think.
It really does. And if you practice proper remote management, you gonna get even a better culture because like I said, a lot of companies are too busy. Companies who care about this culture. I mean, every entrepreneur who is under 40 is dreaming to have a cool cool culture, but now it gives a little understanding, because many companies until now felt the culture is having the biggest party and sending the employees to do the coolest things, but cool things are not necessarily important for everyone. There's some introverts that just want simple things, right? They want to be heard, and that is something that that introverts in general have not experienced in an office environment. And by the way, if you manage introverts well, they will produce more than extroverts.
Why?
I'm a hardcore extrovert, so this is against everything that I imagine and I know. But the research shows that introverts actually implement products and produce more than extroverts.
Wow.
So remote environments, this new phenomenon of going and sending people remote is an opportunity to find gems within your employee pool that you have never thought. Because in an office environment, the loudest, most outspoken, hopefully not too obnoxious, but a person is out there is usually gets the next promotion, gets the ability to implement new things, while there's a person sitting in the corner that is highly intimidated by all the pressures that comes with the office, but he or she can be brilliant and can be the best producer you ever had. And that's something that I've experienced in my remote work environments, that a lot of my producers and now my managers and directors are introverts, that I teach them a little bit how to be a little bit louder and a little bit outspoken, but it's a process, yet they produce such great work.
Yeah, that's amazing. And let's go to the other side of the coin, which is we heard from all of the research that actually people are much more productive. But on the flip side of that, employees tell me they're forgetting to shut down and stop working. Because when you're in an office environment, you'll see people start to leave at 5 or go to lunch. Hey, Cindy, you want to go to lunch? So you remember those cues to stop working. So how do we make it so it's balanced for employees instead of them being maybe a little bit too overproductive?
So, so a lot of my book is advice for the remote employee. But it's a much smaller section, the remote management, because I find that a remote work environment is only as good as its management. And the advice for the remote workers are really in when your remote managers suck, right?
Oh no.
This is a lot of it. So yes, you're becoming significantly more productive when you work remotely. The majority of people. Sometimes, certain people don't fit, especially not with the right, if you don't have the right direction of management, remote might not be for you. But for the majority of people, they are producing a lot more. There's a lot less distractions, there's a lot less random meetings. They get a lot more done. And because of that, they have a lot more hours during the day. And one of the advice that I give to the remote worker, and it's not just for mental health, it is for the bottom line. It is for the production at the end of the day. That now that you have extra hours in your day, you need to invest some of the hours in your social experience. You actually need to book social experience meetings as if they were business meetings. So I like to go out for drinks and food with friends, and sometimes I go for a walk, and sometimes I go to listen to music. Those are my social experiences, particularly. And I spend at least an hour, if not 2 hours a week, researching the best restaurant, researching booking friends to go hang out. Um, Finding the best band. COVID time is a little funny, but it used to be my activity before.
Yeah, yeah.
And that is part of my criteria as a remote worker. Like it's not just a side option, it is a must, because I know that if I'm not going to get this out of my system and have my social experience, I will be a less productive employee.
Yes.
So the summary is book your social experience as if they were business meetings.
Wow. That is so telling, Sharon, because what I did is I got stuck at my computer when I started working from home completely, and I'd be 16 hours, la, 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 la. My husband's like, get up, get out of your chair. And so I started to do that. I started to schedule time to get out of my chair and go work out, go take a walk, go move. And movement's so important for your health. So that was just a big one for me. That and getting up earlier so that I could do a workout before, and then something in the middle of the day so that I revved up my body and get my energy up.
So I feel you're missing something. From everything you said, you're taking care of your mental health, going working on everything. I did not hear much about having fun, right? If you I Maybe I missed that, maybe you mentioned, but if you're not booking your fun, right, you are missing. Go have a blast. Whatever you consider to be a blast, unless my brother is a workout tyrant, so he actually enjoys working out. But for the 99% of us that do not, right, I did not hear going out for a drink and going out for a concert or going out for a movie, or that needs to be booked,
I need to
right?
do that,
Because
yeah.
if you're not going to book it like a meeting in a remote environment, you get lazy. It is the biggest disadvantage of remote. You get so comfortable sitting on your bum, just working, not
Yeah,
being lazy.
yeah,
Yeah, you get comfortable just being productive,
yeah.
and somehow, and the remote burnout is not the same as the office burnout. You don't notice it. It hits you slowly, and something one day you look at it like, oh, I am not feeling so myself anymore.
Uh-huh.
So yes, working out is great. Please book the workout, but book the
Book the
nice glass
fun.
of wine, right? Book that. It's important.
Yeah.
And of course that involves booking friends, right? So you actually need to spend time. It's like saying, who is willing to hang out with me? And let's go. And it is part of my weekly task to book meetings, which are really fun. I book meetings to hang out, and I do the same thing on Zoom, and I do the same thing in social the moment COVID permits us.
Wow. Now, share with me also, how does it work with maybe distractions from family? Because some of my colleagues and friends have said, hey, I love working from home, but then I have the kids, I've got to homeschool. Have you had to deal with that? Or have you heard of people who have dealt with that remotely, and how have they added that into their work schedule so they're not losing their mind?
So I'm a stay-at-home dad, right? I am I'm a stay-at-home dad, and I run a multi-million-dollar company. And I know that it is seems kind of contradictory, but I'm surrounded by very rich, successful businessmen. My network is wonderful, and every single person, when asked what do they regret, they didn't get to hang out with their kids because their 12 hours or 10 hours or whatever time that those CEOs work, just like me, right, do not go home. And I get to work the same hours, but I get to do it when the children visit. They give me a kiss. We hang out. We have dinner, and I work the same hours as every other CEO, but I have this benefit. Now, this benefit was a little more complicated when COVID started or when they were born. I learned a few things about the only time in my life that I was absolutely unproductive. Not the only time. I had many times, but the one that I remember the most is the first 6 months of my first child. Right? I wanted to be a proactive daddy. I wanted to wake up in the middle of the night. I did not want my wife to do everything. I wanted to be there. Right? And that made me a vegetable. Right? It was and what I've learned very quickly that that being a completely proactive dad, being a CEO of a serious company that requires those hours, is visible, but you can't do the other stuff, right? Being a proactive dad doesn't mean that I need to clean after my kids. Doesn't mean that I need to it doesn't mean that I need to change diapers. It's a responsibility to change diapers at least once in a while. I think of every parent, right? I but all the extra stuff, you need to evaluate your time. So and very after the first 6 months, I learned very quickly because I have lost more business in those 6 months than it cost me to pay 3 nannies. And then, as I was saying, get help, pay for help. If there's certain things that you still want to do with the kids, get the help to do everything else. Right? You gotta value your time. And in my book, I created a second version. I actually discuss about how to measure the value of your time, and then realize whether you should be paying for help or not. If you cannot afford help, and that's fair and that's reasonable, right? And when you school your kids at home and during COVID or whatever the choices are, and both partners are business people, such as myself. My wife runs her own business. You need to focus on chunk of distraction-free hours. That means, wifey, let's do this. I'm going to work this 6 hours. I can't be distracted. And I will come visit the kids when I'm down and I hang out, but I can't be distracted in the middle because it takes 20 minutes to get back to focus once you're distracted. And then after that, I'm giving you the next 6 hours. The average worker produces about 2 hours and 53 minutes in an 8-hour shift in an office environment. That's it.
How
so you give me 5 hours, and I'm pretty good with that. Let me go through it. You will still produce more than the average worker in an office.
Wow. And you know what I'm guessing? You will also, because get this, most people are traveling 2 hours a day when they had to travel to an office. Those are 2 hours saved. The stress of traveling, the traffic, all of that adds to your body and your stress. Now,
and what about the fact that you know that you have an hour traffic to go, and you say, I need to go home. Because if I'm not going to go home, I'm not going to see my family. And then you stop a project in the middle. Do you know how long does it take to get back to that project the next day?
Yeah.
Right. What a waste of time.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. It really is. This has been fabulous. So much information. I want people to get all the tips that they can use to get the best out of being a remote worker, or how to get the best out of their people if they're a manager or a business owner. Where do they get a copy of Surviving Remote Work?
Surviving Remote Work is on Amazon. It's we reached #1 bestseller at the time. Just reach out. We also have our media website. We created a publication for everything remote called Think Remote at thinkremote.com. If you want to learn, come, or the book or the website. We are there to teach. I love what remote brought to my company, and I want to share it with the world.
Well, I love that you're bringing this out there, because I think it serves everyone, both businesses and employees. And I thank you so much for the work you did creating this book, Surviving Remote Work, but also the work you do at DistantJob.com. So if anyone's looking for a great job out there, give you guys a call.
Or if anybody's looking for an amazing employee, also, let's not forget.
Right.
Yeah.
Sharon, I just have to thank you again for coming to Savvy Broadcasting. Thank you so much.
It's been a pleasure. Thank you, Christine.
Like, subscribe, and share this episode. To listen to more savvy episodes and savvy biz tips, go to www.lifeunscriptedradio.com. To find out about our paid sponsorship opportunities or how to become a guest, email Christina at lifeunscriptedradio.com.